Picture this. You're walking down the street on a chilly morning. The air feels thick, a little dusty, and maybe smells faintly like someone just barbecued garbage nearby. You look up at the sky expecting fluffy white clouds, but instead it's a hazy gray blanket that makes everything look like it's being filtered through Instagram's saddest filter. Congratulations, you've just stepped into the world of PM2.5. The name sounds like a robot from Star Wars, but in reality, it's one of the tiniest, sneakiest, and deadliest things floating around us. And the worst part? You can't even see it. So why is PM2.5 so dangerous? Let's dive into this tiny terror with humor and science holding hands. First, what exactly is PM2.5? PM stands for particulate matter, and 2.5 means these particles are 2.5 micrometers or smaller in diameter. To give you a mental image, a single human hair is about 70 micrometers thick. That means PM 2.5 is roughly 30 times smaller than a strand of your hair. Imagine splitting a hair into 30 slices. No, not like a fancy sushi chef, but like a maniac with too much free time. And that's the size we're talking about. These particles are so small that when you inhale, they don't just hang out in your nose like regular dust. They waltz right past your natural defenses, dive deep into your lungs, and in some cases, sneak into your bloodstream like undercover spies. Now, where does PM 2.5 come from? Sadly, it doesn't fall from the sky as fairy dust. It's usually born from less magical sources. Burning fossil fuels from cars, trucks, and factories, smoke from coal power plants, dust from construction, and let's not forget, smoke from your neighbor who burns trash at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, because apparently that's his hobby. Nature contributes too. Wildfires, dust storms, even volcanic eruptions, all of these pump PM 2.5 into the air like Mother Earth having a very bad cigarette habit. Basically, if there's smoke, there's PM 2.5. So what happens when this stuff gets inside you? Here's where things get scary. Imagine your lungs as a 5-star hotel, designed to host clean oxygen. Normally, oxygen checks in, gets absorbed into your bloodstream, and carbon dioxide checks out. But when PM 2.5 shows up, it doesn't just book a room, it throws a wild party. These tiny invaders irritate the lining of your lungs, causing inflammation. Over time, repeated exposure can lead to asthma, chronic bronchitis, reduced lung function, and in some cases, even lung cancer. And remember how I said they can sneak into your bloodstream? Once inside, they don't stop at your lungs. They take the grand tour. They can mess with your heart, increasing the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Some studies even link PM 2.5 to diabetes, kidney disease, and, wait for it, damage to the brain. Yes, the very particles you can't see might be making you forget where you left your keys. Children and the elderly are especially at risk. Kids breathe faster than adults, which means they inhale more air per pound of body weight. More air equals more PM 2.5. It's like giving them extra dessert, but in the worst possible way. Elderly people, meanwhile, often already have weaker lungs or pre-existing conditions, making them easier targets. So while you're out there thinking, it's just a bit of haze, your lungs are screaming, "Help, I'm under attack." But PM 2.5 isn't just about health. It's also an environmental nuisance. These particles scatter sunlight, which is why polluted days look gloomy and visibility drops. Cities famous for their skylines suddenly look like someone smeared Vaseline on your glasses. Tourism suffers, plants suffer, animals suffer. It's basically a group project of misery, and everyone's forced to participate. Plus, let's be honest, it ruins your selfies. Nobody wants to look like they're posing in front of a gray soup. Now, let's add another layer of terror. PM 2.5 doesn't just hurt your body today, it has long-term effects that creep up on you silently. According to the World Health Organization, exposure to PM 2.5 is responsible for millions of premature deaths worldwide every year. Premature deaths, not just colds, not just coughs, but lives shortened. Imagine blowing out your birthday candles only to realize the air you just inhaled while making a wish is part of the problem. Irony has never been so cruel. And yet, despite all this, we can't see PM 2.5. That's part of what makes it dangerous. If the air was filled with giant chunks of floating dirt, people would panic. But because these particles are invisible, people shrug it off.
It's just a little haze, they say. That's like saying, it's just a tiny rattlesnake in the corner of my bedroom. Small doesn't mean safe. Here's where it gets funny. Well, funny in a dark humor way. People often try DIY solutions. Some walk around with surgical masks thinking they're invincible. Spoiler, most cheap masks don't actually filter PM 2.5. It's like trying to stop a mosquito with a tennis net. Others put wet towels over windows as if their home is a medieval fortress under siege. And then there are air purifiers, which, to be fair, actually work if you can afford one that doesn't sound like a jet engine taking off in your living room. The real solution, of course, is tackling the root causes, reducing fossil fuel use, improving regulations, planting more trees. But that requires governments, industries, and all of us to cooperate. And let's face it, getting humans to cooperate is harder than teaching cats to do synchronized swimming. So how do you protect yourself? For starters, check the air quality index. Apps can tell you when PM 2.5 levels are sky high, so you know when to stay indoors. Wear proper masks, N95s or similar, because they're designed to block these tiny particles. Keep your windows closed on bad days and use air purifiers if possible. And maybe don't go jogging outdoors when the sky looks like a zombie apocalypse. Your lungs will thank you. One of the sneakiest things about PM 2.5 is how it affects mental health too. Studies suggest that long-term exposure is linked to depression and anxiety. Think about it. Not only does it clog your lungs, but it also weighs on your mood. Suddenly, the phrase toxic environment feels very literal. And it makes sense. If your brain isn't getting enough clean oxygen, your mood regulation can go haywire. So when people say, I feel down on hazy days, it's not just psychological, it's biological sabotage. And let's not forget the economic cost. Increased healthcare expenses, lost productivity because people are sick, and even damage to crops because plants also need to breathe. PM 2.5 is basically the world's worst subscription service. Nobody signed up for it. It charges you in health bills, and you can't unsubscribe. To put it bluntly, PM 2.5 is a ninja villain. It's invisible. It sneaks into your body. It attacks multiple organs. It ruins your mood. It hurts the environment, and it costs society billions. And unlike a movie villain, you can't just punch it in the face. Fighting it requires awareness, policy changes, cleaner energy, and yes, a bit of personal responsibility too. So the next time someone says, why is everyone making such a big deal about PM 2.5? It's just dust. You can tell them, dust doesn't kill millions of people every year. Dust doesn't sneak into your bloodstream. Dust doesn't shave years off your life expectancy. PM 2.5 does all that, and it does it while pretending to be harmless. Here's the kicker. Even though it's terrifying, we're not powerless. Awareness is the first step. Once people know what PM 2.5 is and why it's dangerous, they can demand cleaner policies, make smarter choices, and protect themselves better. And hey, if explaining it with a bit of humor makes people actually remember, then mission accomplished. So the next time you wake up to a hazy sky, remember, it's not just fog. It's a cocktail of tiny particles trying to RSVP to your lungs' birthday party. The question is, are you going to let them in without a fight? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Wiseuse, because we've got plenty more science, stories, and survival tips you won't want to miss.